Trucker Dump for January 26, 2012, Episode 82. Are all these changes good for the trucking industry?
Welcome to Trucker Dump, where you'll get one driver's insights and sometimes humorous views of truck driving and the trucking industry, and pretty much anything else he feels like dumping on you. This podcast is brought to you by AboutTruckDriving.com. Resources to help you understand the world of truck driving through the use of stories and a pathetic attempt at humor.
G'day, good citizens. Or good night, depending when you're listening, I guess. Todd McCann here. Well, today's topic is very truck-centric, which is fine for my trucking listeners. I just hope my non-trucking listeners can first, stay awake, and second, get a taste of what kind of nonsense we truck drivers are dealing with. Today, I give my opinions on the question, are all these changes good for the trucking industry? The new hours of service rules, texting and cell phone laws, the CSA, and my personal nemesis and eternal torturer of my soul, electronic logbooks, all claim to make the trucking industry safer. But do they? Let's take a look at that. We'll discuss the issues first, then sum it all up at the end. May as well tackle these puppies in order. And yes, tackling puppies is perfectly okay if they're barking for no reason. So how about these new hours of service rules? Well, trucking accidents are at a 60-year low, so naturally, it's time to change the rules. Oh boy, where do I start? I guess we really only need to focus on a few of the rules that will affect the majority of drivers. For a complete list of the hours of service changes, check the show notes for a link. The 11-hour rule. Well, for once we lucked out. The powers who know what's best for us had wanted to reduce our daily driving sessions to 10 hours. They lost. For now. Don't expect this to go away, though. They've already said they're going after it again. Yay. The current 34-hour restart rule. The old rule, that's the current rule, said that if you took an uninterrupted 34-hour break, you got to reset your 70-hour work week. Why was this rule important to drivers? Because if you reset your 70 hours, you could squeeze in 82 hours of working within that week. Thanks to @TamaraGeorge1 on Twitter for pointing me to an article on this. There's a link to her Twitter page and the article in the show notes. The new 34-hour restart rule. Used to be you could take your 34-hour break anytime you wanted. With the new rule, it has to include 2 periods between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m., home terminal time. Granted, they wanted the hours to be from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m., but they relented. Bless their hearts. But why did they want specific times at all? Well, the divine rulers of all things sacred and righteous said that they wanted us to be sure to get 2 periods of overnight rest. How thoughtful of them. In reality, though, these people know trucking about as well as I know the commodity market. They're pretty sure that we need to sleep sometime, and I'm pretty sure that you can sell a pig. That's about the extent of our knowledge. The difference is, I'm not trying to tell them how to run the commodities game. So what's the problem with the new rule? Let me sum it up for you. The new 34-hour rule is as worthless as a drunk Harley rider in a motocross race. Why? Because we truckers don't sleep when normal folks sleep. Sure, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. might be prime sleeping time on one day, but 2 days later, it's in the middle of your driving shift. They just can't comprehend that not everyone has a 9 to 5 day job and not everyone sleeps at night. The concept is truly beyond them. Now let's be honest here. The current 34-hour rule is hard enough to do as is. The trucking industry simply moves too quick. The last thing anyone wants is to leave a driver sitting for 34 hours. I can't count how many times I've gotten 30 to 32 hours into a 34-hour break only to have to cut it short to pick up a load by a certain time. In other words, freight has to be really freaking slow to sit for 34 hours. Kind of like right now. I'm writing this in the midst of what's looking to be a 42-hour shutdown. Still, that doesn't happen all that often. Especially this marathon sit-a-thon I'm tolerating today. So now we've got a time restriction on top of all that. It's not all that often that I get shut down for 34 hours, but now it has to be 34 hours starting and ending at a particular time. I'm sorry, but I don't really see the shipper staying in touch with my dispatcher to find out if their shipping schedule works with my 34-hour restart. You can only do one 34-hour restart per week. This one is pretty self-explanatory. Although it doesn't really matter, since we'll be hard-pressed to get even one restart per week. If you have enough time to get a second restart within a week, you've got bigger problems than it not being legal. The 8-hour break rule. Basically, you can't drive more than 8 hours without taking a break of at least 30 minutes. Personally, I can't wait until I have to refuse a load because the delivery is 9 hours away and a 30-minute break would make me late. Honestly though, for the vast majority of drivers, this will have little effect, as most stop at some point in their day to eat. It probably will affect me as I typically eat my mid-shift meal on the run. I'm sure I'm not the only one. And speaking of distracted driving laws. No texting for truckers. No cell phones for truckers. What's next? No iPods for truckers? No CD players for truckers? No GPS for truckers? No CBs for truckers? Okay, I admit, I'd be alright with that last one. But hey, why not get rid of the gauges on my dashboard? I do look at them every now and then. Better get rid of all the billboards too. And while you're at it, Corvettes are no longer allowed on the roadway. And that beautiful river? Better dam it up. I can't be caught looking away from the road. And of course my e-log unit needs to go. All that beeping is way too distracting. The CSA, or Comprehensive Safety Analysis. This fairly new system is the FMCSA's attempt to get rid of bad drivers and bad carriers by assigning points for naughty behavior. If a driver gets too many points, they're a hiring risk. And since those points transfer to the trucking company, they want to get rid of bad drivers. Problem is, you can be cited for all kinds of things that are out of your control. For instance, I recently got a warning for speeding. I actually wasn't. Even though I didn't get a ticket, I still got points on my CSA. There'll be a link in the show notes for that story and my complete thoughts on the CSA if you missed it. Also, if a taillight burns out in mid-trip, that's considered unsafe and I get points. But the last time I checked, my eyeballs were restricted to my head. Now if I could just take them out and hang them 70 feet out my window, I could have seen that burned out light. Oh wait, can't do that. That would be distracted driving. The cursed e-logs, or electronic logs. I have so many musings on e-logs that I'm not even going to link to them all here. If you want to read them, just go to the handy-dandy search bar on abouttruckdriving.com, type e-logs, and mark off a day and a half on your calendar. Okay, it's not that bad, but I have written extensively about them. My hatred is known far and wide. I'm pretty sure that even that rice farmer in rural China has heard about it by now. And if you missed all these in the podcast version, you can find them over on iTunes. Okay, so back to the question. Are all these changes good for the trucking industry? Well, I guess that all depends on which part of the trucking industry we're talking about. In short, I think the changes will be good for the safety aspect, so-so for the trucking companies, and downright awful for the driver and their bank account. Gee, there's a surprise. First, I think when it comes to safety, which this is supposedly all about, adding time restraints to the 34-hour rule change won't have near the effect that the trucking godheads believe it will, mainly because I don't think drivers are going to get it very often, if ever. But this is not good news for the carriers and the drivers. You see, the whole point of the 34-hour rule is to reset your 70-hour work week, which in turn puts more money in yours and the carrier's pockets. But if they've now limited the work week to 70 hours, what's the point in having the rule at all? Is it just me, or am I totally missing something here? I guess it will make doing your paper logs easier with the reset, but other than that, this rule is as pointless as a lead life jacket. As for the 8-hour rule, I suppose the more breaks you take in a day, the more alert you'll be. And if you have to be down for 30 minutes, maybe so many drivers won't be eating while they're driving. So I guess you can mark that as a plus for the safety side. As for the carriers, they may experience a few more late deliveries, but that probably won't happen very often either. As for the drivers, maybe being forced to stop will allow them to quit eating so much fast food. Maybe. Okay, that's a Mr. Fantastic size stretch there. Now for distracted driving laws. This one is probably good for safety, as long as they don't take it too far. Although they may have already crossed that bridge. As bad as I hate to admit it, distractions do cause us to take our eyes off the road for a brief moment. I think if we're all honest with ourselves, we'd admit this. How many times have you done something while talking on the phone or fiddling with your CB that you never would have done if you weren't? I mean, that's never happened to me, but maybe it has to you. But where does it all end? With nothing to listen to and nobody to talk to, how long will you be driving before your eyelids come crashing to the ground? Sorry, but the surrounding traffic is better off with me texting, not that I'm advising that, than me asleep behind the wheel. Hey, that'd be a good name for a band. Oh, wait. Next, we tackle the puppies. I mean the CSA. We've already tackled the puppies. As bad as I hate to admit it, I believe that the CSA is going to be good for safety. They're trying to weed out the bad drivers, and the carriers are turning a blind eye to safety issues that their drivers are pointing out. Unfortunately, some good drivers with bad luck, a bad day, or even bad timing are going to get caught up in this mess. One bad thing could screw up an otherwise excellent career. Still, I know from my own experience that the CSA has taught me to do some things I haven't done in the past. That license plate light that's burned out? Yeah, I fixed that. That missing mud flap? Yep, went to the shop for that too. Watching my speed more closely? Yep. So blame the CSA when you get behind me and I'm doing the speed limit. Yes, I'm now that annoying guy. As for those hell-spawned e-logs, well, I'd really rather eat a turd casserole than admit what I'm about to say, but here goes. I think that e-logs are good for safety. Gosh, I feel like banging my head against a dresser drawer like Dobby for saying that. The fact is, there's absolutely no way to cheat. I've heard drivers say they can cheat with e-logs, but I think they're probably so used to lying on the CB that it's spilled over into their e-logs. I'm sure most carriers love them because they don't see as many log violations. But is this good for the driver? Well, it keeps them from cheating and it makes them run illegal logs, but I stand by it when I say there needs to be more flexibility. Add more flexibility to the hours of service rules and e-logs won't be such an issue. I won't be holding my breath on that one though. So where does that leave us drivers? Well, I don't really care. The new hours of service rules don't kick in until July 1st of 2013, and I'll be off the road and out of the trucking industry for good by then. Yeah, like I haven't been saying that since 1997.
Hey, yo, bud, where do you want this load of feedback?
Alrighty then, well, the last podcast was the videos on how to do a full body workout inside the truck. I wasn't really sure how many comments I was going to get on this. I did get a few, and I'll be reading those. And I got one other thing right at the end that somebody wrote in about that I've been meaning to talk about for quite a while, but I just keep forgetting. So we'll get to that right at the end. First off, Becca says, I think those are great videos. I thought they were well done even with the camera angle. That is really neat that you did this. People need direction like that. Shows there's always a way to work out no matter where you are. I work out a lot myself, and I think what you did here will be important to a lot of people. Thanks. Well, Becca, I appreciate you saying so. I also thought it was important to put it out there. Now there's fewer legitimate excuses for truckers to be lazy and out of shape. To be honest though, I'm not sure how much of an impact these videos will have. All these truckers are still going to have to motivate themselves, and that's something easier said than done. I sure hope so, though. Thanks for leaving your thoughts, though, Becca. Pam Court says, man, I'd love to be able to do this workout, but I don't have a semi. Bummer. Oh, boy, what a cop-out. Aren't we the snarky one? Well, it is Pam. What did I expect? Lisa Nowak says, I thought you did a great job with these videos, and I'm impressed that you took the time to make them. Video takes forever. Like you, I'm not one for resolutions. For a few years, I actually set reverse resolutions, meaning since I knew I was going to fail, I resolved to do the opposite of my goal, but then I got too lazy to bother. She goes on to say, by the way, I love Pam's comment above. Has she been taking smart-ass lessons from you? Well, Lisa, yeah, video does take forever, and those videos aren't even high quality. It was fun, though. I wouldn't be expecting a video blog anytime soon, though. Too lazy to make resolutions. Too lazy to make reverse resolutions. Wow, we're birds of a feather. As for Mrs. Court, yeah, she's a hoot. I tolerate her snarkiness because she was really one of the first non-truckers to actually read my blog. She also introduced me to the word snarky, so I'm guessing that means she was a smart aleck way before she met me. Thanks for stopping by again, Lisa. And lastly, this is what I've been wanting to share. Not from this exact person, but the idea. PSTC Transportation, aka @TruckingGirl on Twitter, says, I just stumbled onto your blog. Pretty great work. I truly enjoyed reading your point of view. I'd like permission to cross-post this post into my blog. While still quite small, I hope by sharing I can help get drivers a bit more active and healthier. Let me know. Drive safe. Well, Trucking Girl, and everyone else out there, this is how I'd like to handle this. Feel free to use this post or any of my other posts or my podcast on your website. I only require credit for the work and a link to my blog or my podcast somewhere on the page. A Twitter link would also be appreciated. And thanks for asking. And by the way, I don't require that anybody ask. I just require that you do give me credit for the work and all that other stuff. But I do kind of like it when you ask first. That way, if you post it on your site, I can retweet it myself, so you'll get more traffic. And I'll also know who's actually using my stuff. For anyone needing all my contact information, stay tuned, it's in the closing. And thanks to everybody for writing in. I appreciate it. As always, keep them coming. And here's all that contact info. Okay, I know with all these new rule changes that you've got to have opinions on the matter. I hope I can count on you truckers to let us know what you think about it. Am I wrong about something, or did I nail it harder than a bodybuilding carpenter? Just go to abouttruckdriving.com, type puppies into the search bar, and share your thoughts. Or if you've already got my email on speed dial, send them off to truckerdump@gmail.com. If you're not on Twitter yet, you should be, and @ToddMcCann should be the first person you follow and tweet to. That's 2 D's, 2 C's, and 2 N's. What else? Nothing. Just have a great day. Or night. Great. We're back to that again. So until next time, drive safe and stay out of my way.